They say some places just feel like home for your soul. And if your soul is made of paper and brass, that place just might be Kurashiki. After the heaviness of my last video, I wanted to take you all somewhere bright, beautiful, and a little bit tactile. Today, we visit a not often talked about area in Japan, which even the locals go out to see. It's a place that honors craftsmanship and has been able to preserve various kinds of art, history, culture in a way that both tourists and locals alike can come together and enjoy. Grab a coffee or your favorite matcha. We swing by the Ivy Square, the Beacon Historical Quarter, and the legendary Superior Labor Store. In a year where I'm focused on buying less, I'm finding myself looking much closer at what I already own and making sure it adds more value and less clutter into my life. This is the Tweed Superior Labor Bag that I picked up from Kurashiki, and I think my most favorite and most used purchase from last year's Japan trip. Come with me as we explore the gorgeous town where I picked this up. I hope you enjoy today's trip as I take you through this charming corner of Japan, from coffee shops that are a total vibe to this serendipitous find at a cashier's deck that changed how I'm packing for 2026. The shop has 2 levels, and the second level is where the customization station as well as featured journals and how people have customized theirs are located. As I wandered through the store, I stayed focused on my goals for the year, only picking up the Kurashiki exclusive insert, a few postcards, and a beautiful apron for when I'm cooking at home. I was able to enjoy the shop for itself, their free stamping corner, and just soak in the various leather goods and quiet craft as the shopkeepers bustled around downstairs. Then, I was heading to the register content with my small, conscientious haul when I saw it. Sitting right there at the cashier's desk was this Tweed bag. I think I stared at it for probably way longer than I should have, honestly. And when I finally asked about it, the staff told me it was the last one. It was exactly the shade I liked. Deep, textured, and perfect for travel, or just bringing to the garden when I want to sit there and journal or paint, because it won't show signs of dust or dirt or stains, and it would survive me. It felt like the universe swapped my notebook customization for the perfect vessel to carry my life in. For those of you who watched my Shimonami Kaido video, you may have noticed this little charm dangling around my rented bike. I got this from the Katsuoji temple just outside Osaka when the fall leaves were just so gorgeous and red. I went with my brother and we were about to embark on the Shimonami Kaido the next day. So this little bunny and the bigger blue bear right beside her just gave me such good vibes. Later on, I found out that this translated to good energy and vitality. And I think it was made for kids. It was just so funny that this had ended up accompanying me all throughout that wonderful, memorable ride. Decided to keep it attached to this bag as well to preserve the good vibes. And inside, you get the gorgeous canvas lining. I keep this clampy clip inside because it gives me something very nice and handy to reach for when I need to slip something in and out of the pocket. This tiny bag is deceptively spacious. I'm about to shock you with the amount of storage that this little thing has. I will have the dimensions down in the description, but take a look at my hand. The height of the bag is practically the length of my hand, and yet I can fit not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 entire notebooks into this bag, plus a pen case that's pretty full, I would say. I'll be going through these items one by one just to showcase what I use this bag for. But before that, I just wanted to pull them all out to give a good sense of exactly how big this bag really is. You might think that those notebooks look different from what I featured in my notebook ecosystem, because apart from this, which is my regular memory keeper, these are what I like to call ad hoc notebooks. So they have very specific uses, and before I purchased them or adopted them, in the case of this one, I really made sure that they had utility in my life. Before I dive into the different uses of my traveler's notebook covers in regular size, now you see why I wanted a passport size, I will just go through the easy bit. What's inside this little Kisslock leather pouch? I got this from the same maker of this notebook brand. They're on Etsy and they're called Wuzhi Studios. I hope I'm not butchering the pronunciation of that, but I'll have them linked in the description below. In any case, this is just a really nice true olive toned leather. It makes me want to go open a jar of olives and just snack on them. This houses my on-the-go Traveler's Factory tiny colored pencil set. It comes with a little eraser that you can pop out, a sharpener, and it kind of reminds me of some colored pencils for ants because that's how tiny they are. But I really enjoy it because it's so portable that I can readily have it on me and pop it out and just start sketching. It makes me let go of that sense of perfectionism I sometimes get before I start making art, and it just makes the whole process more enjoyable with how scaled down it is compared to the old gigantic colored pencil set I was using. I hope this ends up encouraging me to draw and sketch and make art more, even in my busy workday. The next thing is I only allow myself one roll of washi tape just to avoid decision fatigue, and I did mention this in my other video. I find that I'm not so drawn to washi tapes, but in my actual workflow, when it comes to journaling and memory keeping, I find it a bit too fiddly and I tend to be quite clumsy, so I prefer messing around with inks, pens, and saving the washi tape for borders or just to stick some photos or ephemera on. So by limiting myself to one design, I end up reaching for it more, and I also find that as the days go by, the evolution of color schemes is a lot more cohesive. Sometimes if I'm getting bored of one design and the washi tape is really thick, I do allow myself to switch it out. But in terms of what I carry with me inside this pouch, it's really just one roll. The next is my trusty stamp. This is from Midori, the same mother company as the Traveler's Notebook. And this design has the days of the week and weather. So rainbow, sun, rain, cloud, and snow. And just a really cute icon. I find with these Midori paintable stamps, they're honestly such good quality in terms of the ink, but does not smear on me, though that will also vary depending on what paper I'm using. I feel just makes for a nice header when I do my journal entries. I really like that you can lock it, so you just push it up and press the two red buttons on the side and it locks it in this smaller form. That's how I keep it inside this little pouch. And then for simplicity, I will just dump out all the pens. I actually have a separate pen case for my fountain pens. These are just brush pens, markers, and highlighters, and a few ink pens that I find myself wanting to use up this year. So there's no specific rhyme or reason as to why it's this color scheme, but primarily because I've had these for some time and I keep it in this bag to make sure that they get used and not just stored or gathering dust somewhere. This all fits into here with a lot of room spare, so I could actually fit more correction tape, etc. They're not necessarily daily drivers. These often get switched out, and I really enjoy using up the tools I buy before I purchase new ones, because the thought of really nice quality tools being unused just makes me really sad. I try not to hoard too much. So that's my little pen case. And now it's time for my notebooks. I will start with this little bear guy. This is my little polar bear who matches my Yudo cover just super well. I love how the blue tone of this cover is a slightly different shade than their typical Traveler's Notebook blue. And I did talk about this in my other videos. This houses my quarterly insert, which is largely visual memory keeping for the quarter. And it's unstructured. It also houses my travel journals. So I'll be doing another flip through, and before I end up gushing about the trip and everything that happened, I will close this. Since this is my most loved and most used Traveler's Company cover, I have a craft folder in it. I use the folder to stick in either pictures or magazine clippings or anything like that, stickers that I will be placing into my journal later on, and these date stickers that come in handy quite a bit to provide some sense of structure in my inserts. Apart from that, because I gathered so much paper and brochures that I didn't want to throw away because they had such gorgeous pictures. Case in point, the cover of my recent Japan trip with a Shimanami Kaido adventure made really good use of those brochures. So yeah, it's just both healing and working in the unforgettable Shimanami locations. Isn't that so cute? I'm not the best sketcher or painter, but keeping these brochures are a great way to have pictures or just capture the vibe of a place, because of course they would feature the nicest parts of the town. So that one right there is featuring Kurashiki, which I will be inserting lots of walking videos so that you can enjoy it just like I did when I was there. This was a really nice atmospheric cafe, and my favorite drink at this spot, it was iced coffee with liquor in it. They just smiled at me and said, "Himitsu desu," so it's a secret. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so this houses my travel journals, and if I'm going on a trip, I put it right beside my quarterly. Sometimes I even leave my quarterly at home just so that there's more space for the things I gather. This trifold plastic cover will help out in gathering all those brochures, stickers, and general pieces of what one might consider trash or negligible to a free souvenir that will actually color your pages and remind you of where you've been. So yeah, that's my Yudo cover, my very well loved quarterly insert holder, and my travel journal holder as well. I do like that it was one of the limited editions, but with more of an understated design. As I finish each notebook, I'm going to put them back just so you can see. I keep this guy up because he's the one I pull out and use the most often. But just so you can see that I wasn't kidding, they really did fit in here. I really like how the bag just sort of presents the notebooks and tools to you, because although I have the flexibility of turning it over this way because it fits too, when I'm at home, they tend to be sticking out as a reminder, hey, let's sit down and take a break and journal for a bit. So they pop up this way, but when I go out, I can also tuck them in just like this and still have lots of space so that it's easier to carry. I will talk about this one. This is the Bible-sized Wuzhi rings. You can see the embossing, and their tagline says, lay a solid foundation and the time will come for you to shine. And I really like that. It's made of the same high-quality Pueblo leather as Plotter, but instead of getting that gold Krause ring signature look of the whole backing right down the spine, they do only the upper and lower edge, which I honestly prefer because when I picked up my friend's and the quality of that metal bar was just so high that it hurt. I accidentally, because I'm very clumsy, hit my pinky with it, and yeah, it hurt a lot. So I like this because it's more pliable and also less risk of me injuring myself with a notebook. So I have filled this with both Knox and Plotter inserts, and I also use it to practice whatever I'm learning. As you can see from my horrible handwriting on this page, I'm learning Japanese. I've always struggled with large rings in the past. I like the idea of being able to open them up, remove what you don't need, and just reorganize. So rings will allow me to do that, but I just couldn't get over the discomfort of writing on something so huge. What I like about both these ring systems, the Plotter and the Wuzhi, is that the diameter is much smaller. It doesn't really get in my way. I've been able to use this quite well in class and almost every day practicing my handwriting, which I will not go through because my sensei might be watching. I use one section for lessons, and then I'm able to put inserts for my calligraphy practice and handwriting practice, and then just another section of grids for different subjects that I'm learning too. All of my personal learning goes into this wonderful Bible-sized, super convenient yet spacious enough learning journal. Wuzhi also ships their ring binders with this free ring protector. The leather molds to the shape of the rings inside, and some people don't like that look, but I personally don't mind. It patinas quite well. This is the, I believe, the burgundy color, and it's just so nice. It's a very rich purple, almost eggplant, with enough warmth to it to look quite nice. I like that the grids are not too dark, but they're present enough that if I need to sketch or make a graph, they will guide my pen. That's my learning journal, and I have the lifter, which allows me to keep it shut just like a plotter. This is something I adopted and kind of abused as a result. I was gifted this by my brother, who had found it on Japan auctions. I believe this was only somewhere around 500 yen. I was hoping to get it to lean lighter or more green, and I made an attempt to put saddle soap, and I even made an attempt to dye it, and then I immediately hated that and tried to soap it all off, which ended up making the cover really, really soft. So I like how beat up and aged it's become because it's evidence of my knack for experimenting and really getting hands-on with things. This houses my ink journal. Eventually my swatches became much neater, and this also houses my art journal, watercolor paper, and it's perforated too, so you could just tear off whatever you make. I've just recently moved into this one, so it's not really that full. Hopefully my new little on-the-go colored pencils will accompany me in this notebook and I fill it up in 2026. The middle insert, I'm not entirely sure belongs in this one. It's just that it's green. This is the green tea leaf paper from Kyoto, which smells absolutely wonderful. And this is my olive colored, I would say it's more dark green, cover. My simple brain said put green insert inside green notebook. And there you have it. Now, the main thing I decided to use this green tea leaf insert for is I don't know, call it a lack of creativity, my matcha review and general tea review insert. Much of what I picked up in Japan included tins of matcha and loose leaf tea as well. So I also love how gorgeous the packaging is on most of them, and I tried as much as I can to save it and then write my review here. So I find it just so fitting that my matcha reviews are in a green tea insert. And on the occasion that I experience a notable coffee, usually drip coffee, this was from the Superior Labor's Christmas packet. They had some drip coffee, which tasted great, but a bit on the darker roast side, and from my favorite cafe in Osaka, which is Aoma Coffee. I'll leave a link down below if you guys are interested in swinging by if you're in the area. So I'm also quite excited to see how this insert will fill up as the months go by. I really love sniffing the paper. I don't know if that's weird, but I hope that it will never fade and just always stay so fresh. Next, we have one of my more well-loved books. I think all of my notebooks are really well loved at this point because I've found systems that really work for me. But this one in particular holds a lot of my words because this is my prayer journal. So this is a Camel, and it began as very suede and was also subject to my experimentations. I applied some leather conditioner to the back, and it removed much of that suede feeling and brought out more leather feeling. I also kept the suede in the front because I like the variety in the texture, especially as I use it. I also added an iron-on patch, and I had this spare little leather, I don't know what you would call this, a tab. And I found that when I threaded this onto the enclosure band, it looked really nice and neat. This prayer journal has so much character and comfort. I keep some letters from my mom and a little cross poem from my grandma, who passed away when I was little. And she was the one who taught me how to pray. It's something that has carried me through many a season in my life and really allowed me to explore the depth of who I am with a lighter heart. All of you watching are likely to have different religions, faiths, beliefs, but I do hope that you also have a way to explore with grace and peace your own beliefs and what you believe in. I really enjoy using this to insert between Traveler's Company and Baumkuchen in LA because it has a nice off-white but not too cream-colored paper, and of course the beloved Tomoe River that plays so well with fountain pens and showcases their characteristics. Because this is quite personal, I won't really be flipping through it, but I just love how the ink changes its tones and colors on such good quality paper and also against the cream. So I could be writing in my Hobonichi and it looks completely different. I think this is the 4th grid insert I filled up with my prayers. So yeah, this is one of my more comforting notebooks or journals to write in. I chose this specific model because there's no fuss, just accessible storage, which I do want to have for a bag that will either be sitting on my desk or accompanying me to cafes. And it has that signature leather bottom that TSL is famous for. And at this point, I can already tell the patina is going to be legendary. I do know that the history of washi tape is that it was invented in Kurashi. So for those of you who use this often in your workflow, you'll find a lot of wonderful variety and really high quality items right here. I also picked up some postcards that capture the district's beauty, so each piece actually feels like a physical bookmark for that leg of the trip. It makes me smile every time I remember the adventures I was on, and it also makes me look forward to using up things that someone else poured out their time and energy and attention to create. It makes my act of journaling and creating feel like a continuation of the journey rather than just a record of it. I'm excited to see how this bag will wear in the coming months, and I'm also excited to use up all of the inserts and the ink bottles I got from Japan, even though I didn't get too much. I hope you enjoyed today in one of Japan's lesser known gems. If you've ever been there or find yourself curious about going there, please do share in the comments. I'd be happy to share any information that could help more people appreciate and love Kurashiki just like I do. So, see you in the next video.